Hey guys, I'm back. Sam Stein here with Bulwark. I'm joined by Lauren Egan, author of The Opposition, and we are coming to you quickly after the announcement from Kamala Harris that she's not going to be running for governor of California in 2026. This was like, 50-50. It felt like Polymarket, my Bible, had her odds of her running at 40% before they nosedive after this announcement. She says that she feels like her future is not in elected office at this moment. I'll read quickly from her statement that she issued, and then Lauren, I want your thoughts. She writes, over the past 6 months, I spent time reflecting on this moment in our nation's history and the best way for me to continue fighting for the American people and advancing the values and ideals I hold dear. I am a devout public servant, and from the earliest days of my career, I have believed that the best way I could make a difference in people's lives and fight for a better future was to improve the system from within. And it's been a profound honor to do that work and serve the people of California and our nation as a prosecutor, attorney general, United States Senator, and vice president. In recent months, I have given serious thought to asking the people of California for the privilege to serve as their governor. I love this state, its people, and its promise. It's my home. But after deep reflection, I've decided that I will not run for governor in this election. I have extraordinary admiration and respect for those who dedicate their lives to public service to their communities and to our great nation. At the same time, we must recognize that our politics, our government, and our institutions have too often failed the American people. And she goes on and on and on. Doesn't necessarily rule out the idea of running for president in 2028. And I know there's a lot of speculation for that.
Sound like someone who's like super energized by the idea of being in government. I don't know. Like that was kind of interesting. I mean, I don't think folks in California were like really asking for her to run again. No one really wanted this. So I don't know. I'm not personally like super shocked by this, but like it kind of had in a way frozen sort of like the gubernatorial field for a minute. But
why do you, let's go this way. What do you think the party's current view of her is? I know that's like a really broad question. And of course there's multitudes, but like what is her perception, do you think, among fellow Democrats? It changes all the time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this might sound like kind of sad, but I think they do like look at her with like a sense of sadness. Like she was someone who was given like kind of a shitty situation at the end of 2024. And I think like in a different world, maybe her political career would have gone differently. But I think folks are like, well, it really sucks that she's kind of left sort of like holding all this baggage from 2024. It sucks that she was the person that had to do that. She gave it her best shot. She ran a good campaign given the like, really unfortunate circumstances that she was facing. But like, we just have to move on from that. And if that means that we might have to say like, there's not really a future Harris in, the governor's mansion in California or on the presidential trail in 2028.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I have trouble sort of conceiving of what the right frame is to think about her. Like, I think objectively, incredibly impressive meteoric rise, accomplishing all that she did, obviously, is tremendous. Historic figure, obviously. I mean, like, she's a historic figure. And then also to your point, like, I don't think anyone really faults her for anything that happened in the campaign itself in 2024. I mean, yeah, sure, she should have had a better answer about how to break with Biden and maybe gone on Rogan, although there's questions about whether he would have had her on. But like, more or less ran a pretty good campaign. And yet I can't shake this idea that prior to her becoming a candidate, there was a lot of questions about her, about like her skill set as a politician, about the role she was playing as vice president, about whether she could, be an effective communicator and leader for the party. And I just think that, coupled with questions about Biden himself and how she would have to grapple with Biden's legacy, it feels like that has doomed her. I don't know if it's going to doom her forever, but it does feel like it's an anchor on her.
That's already been part of the fabric of this gubernatorial race. Just a few months ago, Antonio Villaraigosa, who's running for governor, he's the former LA mayor, he put out a statement when Biden's health issues were kind of coming out again, when the Jake Tapper book and Alex Thompson book was coming out, basically being like, if you were in the Biden administration, you need to answer what you knew and when. And that was obviously aimed at Harris. I think he called her out directly in that. So there was already like warning shots fired. Like if she were to get into the governor's race, that this was going to follow her around everywhere she went. And in a party that's just really desperately trying to close the chapter on the Biden administration and start over, that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It's like, it's not even an indictment of her or criticism of her as a human being or a politician. It's just basically like, the wounds are so fresh and the taint is so great from 2024 that it's almost like people just kind of want to move on and don't want to have to even consider someone from that era. And yet, like, I don't know, does Pete Buttigieg get that same baggage? Does like Javier Becerra? You think so?
Yeah, well, Becerra is running too for governor, so right. He was called out too. Like, what did you know and when? And obviously, like, he's a bit more removed. I mean, he's still a cabinet member, but he's a bit more removed than Harris was. But yeah, Pete's gotten that question. I was in Iowa when he was kind of swarmed by reporters at a town hall asking him what he knew and when.
Different beasts.
Yes,
you guys are vicious.
That's true, but I mean, 2028's a long way away. Right. But I do think just the fact that we already saw, like in the early days of the California governor's race, that like Democrat on Democrat violence about some of this, it is an easy way if you're in a primary to kind of be like, well, you might like Pete, but can you trust him? Because we couldn't trust him back then. And so like, I don't think that this goes away. I think Democrats will use it against each other. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, again, I have trouble separating how much she's hindered by this idea that they just need to move on to another generation of politicians. And look, she's not like of that generation. She's still pretty young and, she hadn't been in elected office for that long. Let's put it that way. How much that's a problem for her versus how much people just sort of never really were sort of emotionally attached to her in a way that they can get to other politicians. Again, her vice presidency, it was choppy, I think is fair.
Yeah.
It had its ups, it had its downs. She did in the end make it really work in a way that I think surprised people because at the outset it was not going well. But look, I mean, if you look at the data, there's very little data out there that's reliable. But like there was a early July poll from, I think, let me read it, University of California, Irvine School of Social Ecology. It's weird pulling off it, but whatever. They did a data and they were testing her in the primary, and they were like, I mean, she was up on an unnamed Republican, just 41-29. I mean, I don't think that's that solid necessarily. And again, she's been tested in 2028 runs as well with Buttigieg and others. And this Emerson poll, again, just one poll, so whatever, take it with a grain of salt. But like, she trailed him. She was 13%. Pete was 16%. As the ex-candidate for president, you would think she'd have a bigger margin than that. And I just think there's not. I don't know. I just don't know if she ever made that firm. I don't know. What is her like constituency in the Democratic Party? Like, what is her core constituency?
She never figured that out. And that was like one of the big problems. And so, yeah, I mean, I think like it's both of these things. It's like the party wants to move on. And also like I just don't think there's a willingness to sort of like work through some of that baggage for someone like Harris, because like, like this is going to sound harsh, but like, is it worth it? Like she has, when she ran for president back in 2019 in the 2020 race, like she didn't even make it to Iowa. So she's had an impressive career.
But she's much more
at the same
seasoned
time.
now. That's the thing. She's much more seasoned now. She's got the experience now. She knows how to run a campaign now, and she certainly can raise money now. So all those ingredients are there. You've seen it work. Maybe it was circumstantial, but yeah.
She's more seasoned now, but I don't know. Like she did well on the campaign trail. And a lot of in 2024, a lot of that was still like big tentpole speeches. Like I don't know if she's actually
in the debate. She did really well in the debate against Trump.
Sure, but like we're just talking about this like environment now that's changed so much. Where like you have to be so authentic. You have to sort of be off the cuff. It's not just like reading from the teleprompter. At a giant arena where you're having like all these celebrities also show up on stage. So given the reality of how much politics have shifted, I don't think that she would actually do that great, or at least she has not proven to be the type of person that can really thrive in that kind of environment.
Well, Polymarket, again, my Bible, only has her at 6% likely to be 2028 nominee for Democrats. That's fairly low. Again, we're so far out. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself or to you. I'd be very curious what our viewers think about this one. Like, I want you guys to jump in the comments and offer your opinions. I know this is kind of a hypercharged topic and people have strong opinions about this. But I'm curious what your theories are for why she decided not to run for governor of California and whether you think she will run in 2028 and what kind of shot she has. Lauren, last thoughts on the state of the Democratic Party, Harris and her legacy here.
I think she's going like at the end of the day, what do her biographers write about her? Is that what we're talking? Sure. That big picture? I think that she's going to get a lot of credit for 2024. And I think that the party is going to extend her a lot of generosity. But I don't know. That's hard to answer because, like, if she runs for 2028, I don't know. Like, I don't think that people look at her with as much. Yeah, let's
say she's done with elected politics. Let's just say she wants to go and run a nonprofit.
Gives her a lot of credit and they look at her in a very generous perspective. And I do think right now there is sort of a willingness or an appetite in the party. If you kind of know it's your time and you bow out, like we see that with people that are announcing their retirements. The party is sort of willing to give you like a big hug and sort of like congratulate and applaud you for making those decisions.
Thank you. We appreciate everything you've done. I kind of agree with that, I have to say. All right, Lauren, thanks so much. I know you're going to get back to some edits that were left in a Google Doc that you may have submitted to an editor at some point earlier in the day. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you doing this, taking the time to talk through. And I'm serious to those watching. Leave us your comments. Be kind. Don't be too mean to me. Give me your thoughts on what you think Harris's next step should be and how you think her legacy will look, whether or not she runs for office. Thank you for subscribing to our feed for conversations like this. Tell all your friends and family about the YouTube feed as well. Talk to you soon.